Hey everyone, today we will explain Something in the Dirt, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. It follows two outsiders caught in a place where some powerful phenomenon is occurring. Let's dive into the plot and enjoy watching. It had just been a couple of hours since Levi Danube moved to his new house in Laurel Canyon, Los Angeles, when he saw another man, most likely the only one in the area, smoking on the ground floor. Levi had run out of cigarettes, so he chose to get one from the outsider. The outsider named John Daniels had lived in those places over 10 years. He said that he was a wedding picture taker, however to help his pay, he taught math in a school. Levi functioned as a barkeeper and had wanted to move out of Los Angeles. John let Levi know that he could take the furniture that his ex had left, which he was at any rate going to give. John assisted Levi with moving in the furnishings and other stuff, and the pair saw low-flying planes and smoke ascending from the structures. With a sort of easygoing quality, as though they realized that end of the world was presently not an implausible chance. A quartz gem, which Levi was utilizing as an ashtray, began drifting in the air when John was going to leave. The two of them didn't understand what was occurring, and they remained there frozen and awestruck. The occurrence left them confused, and they couldn't understand what might have caused that levitation. Out of nowhere, it struck them that in the event that they reported it, they could possibly offer it to Netflix or some other OTT stage and, consequently, bring in a lot of cash. They began wandering off in fantasy land about the sort of cash they would make, assuming the OTT Goliath chose to stream their narrative and the rich way of life they could lead after that. They brought anything apparatus they had and positioned everything to record the oddity on camera. The closet in Levi's loft was producing light, and the couple didn't have any idea about the way things were occurring or where it was coming from. With their crude arrangement, they couldn't record anything. And Levi was of the assessment that they expected to get more refined cameras and recording gadgets. Levi had let John know that he did some chipping in at a young haven. However, soon the last option understood that it was an obligatory assistance that he did in light of the fact that he was released early. John likewise figured out that he had been indicted for some sex offenses, however Levi let him know that it was every one of an unfortunate mix-up. John had a wide range of hypotheses to him, and he assumed the job of the fundamental specialist while Levi took on a supporting role, not on the grounds that he needed to, but since John was a wiseacre who had no space. Briefly assessment, the team ran thoughts by one another, and after a place of time, it seemed like possibly they were on drugs, or we were in a condition of trance, as their speculations were considerably more unusual than the peculiarity occurring inside the place. The line among the real world and creative mind turned out to be totally hazy. John felt like he had seen the example that the light made, subsequent to being reflected from the gem, someplace previously. He understood that it was the very design that he had found in his math book, which he previously possessed since youth. There were other stunning hypotheses too that the couple planned. They guessed that it very well may be conceivable that the outsiders needed to reach them. As per John, there were speculations that said that outsiders had established life on the planet and that they were hanging tight for the day when mankind turned out to be so socially developed that they could reach them. John engaged the likelihood that the extraterrestrial creatures could have perceived how developed he was, and to that end they were attempting to lay out contact. However, John probably won't have had the option to find proof about the presence of outsiders. It demonstrated that he viewed himself as infinitely better to other people. The quartz deposits and the spilling roofs caused John to feel that Levi's house could be an entryway that prompted a distant planet. Levi figured out that the desert flora plant inside his loft was incredibly bearing an organic product that clearly had Morse code concealed inside it. John sorted out that the Morse codes were fundamentally facilitates of a spot. However, they didn't find anything there. Levi saw a storing in which the ocean side very closely resembled the one where he used to go fishing. He was not prepared to accept that it was just a fortuitous event. They likewise tracked down a recording gadget from underneath the condo, in an empty hole, with the number 1908 composed on it. Similar numbers were inked on Levi's knuckles. However, Levi let John know that it was the quantity of days he had spent in a psychological organization during his life as a youngster. John couldn't discredit the way that there was a few associations between the number and the uncanny happenings in the loft. The film, Something in the Dirt, enters a meta space when the editors of the narrative that Levi and John were filming educate us concerning their encounters and their opinion overall heavenly thing. Consistently, the greatness of the tremor and the quantity of items levitating increased. Toward the finish of the film, Something in the Dirt, we see that even John began floating in the room, while Levi, who was sitting on the overhang and enjoying a smoke, likely levitated in the night sky. John felt free to make the narrative, and perhaps he just did it vaingloriously. However, he gave proper respect to Levi and recognized that he, as well, was an integral piece of the venture. According to what John says in his story, Levi died. Levi had been liable for the death of his sister, who had bounced from a building. Likely John had made an imaginary story, or perhaps he was really telling reality. John made the entirety of this in his mind and gave himself motivation to accept that everything occurred as a general rule. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the film.